Welcome back, folks. Professor Almeida here, and in this video, I want to walk you through the Word 2 project in COSA 50. Term papers. I've had my share, and I'm sure that you've had yours as well. In this chapter or module, you're going to learn how to use the built-in tools in Word when creating research papers. That's coming up in this video. If you're still trying to get settled into your Windows and Microsoft 365 environment, check out my last video covering the Word 1 project, at least for the first 10 minutes of that video. Otherwise, let's go ahead and get started. As before, if you need a break, you do have the pause button. So I'm in MindTap here, and just as a friendly reminder, you do have access to the full ebook. And let's check out Word Module 2 here. Creating a research paper. Here are the objectives for Chapter 2. And by the end of this chapter, you should be able to master all of these objectives. And here's Word 2 project. Of course, you have a direct link in Canvas. And I'll go ahead and start. So if you need a break, now would be a good time, and I'll see you on the other side. All right, if you're ready to go, let's go ahead and begin. And remember, you do have that pause button. All right, let's grab the instructions and the start file. And at this point, we can go ahead and put away Sam. I will open up Windows File Explorer. Now, let me show you a different method for saving a copy of your start file. We could just simply select it here in the Downloads folder. Of course, you can choose to move your files to OneDrive, as I showed you with the Word 1 project walkthrough. I'm going to right-click on my start file and choose Copy, and then I will click into this blank area here, right-click, and paste. And then I will go ahead and rename my file so that it has a 2 on the end. Now be careful that you don't include an extra space after the 2. Make sure it's just a 2 at the end and nothing else. When you're done renaming your file, go ahead and hit enter. And at this point, we can go ahead and launch the instructions along with the start file. So here's the start file, and as before, we'll go ahead and enable editing, and I will Alt-Tab my way back to the instructions here. So we've already completed the getting started portion, and now we're ready to go ahead and begin the project. All right, step 1, you are writing a research paper for your introduction to business class. The topic of the paper is current business trends, and you have chosen growth and entrepreneurship for your paper. You must write the paper in the MLA style and include suggestions from your professor. Quick disclaimer, I'm a computer professor, not an English professor. So if you have questions about properly using MLA or APA, reach out to your instructor if you find yourself writing a term paper. Again, I'm not an English professor, so you've been warned. I'm just showing you how to use the built-in tools. Start by changing the citations and bibliography style of the document to MLA. So this is step 1 here. Again, start by changing the citations and bibliography style of the document to MLA. To do that, we will go to the References tab, and we're going to be spending quite a bit of time here in the References tab. This is where you will find all your built-in tools for working with citations and bibliography, creating a table of contents, working with footnotes and endnotes, and all that good stuff. Now, in the References tab, Citations and Bibliography group, you can see that by default, the document is set to APA style. We need to change this to MLA in the drop-down menu. And you'll see it's MLA 7th edition. Again, if you have questions about MLA or APA, reach out to your instructor. And that takes care of step 1. Step 2, to conform to MLA guidelines, modify the normal style as follows. So let me pause here to explain what the normal style is. If you go into the Home tab Styles group and you pull down the Styles drop down, you'll see a number of different styles, and one of them is called normal. Now, in Word 1 project, you learned how to change the font size, the font color. You've also learned how to adjust the spacing before and after a paragraph and all of that good stuff. What if you could do all of that by clicking on one button? And that's where styles comes in. You could also think old school, let's say a car stereo, right? And if you're listening to the radio, you have to fiddle the tuning knob to find the right station, and you have a few presets. Let's say you find the station you want to listen to, and instead of fiddling the tuning knob, you just hit a button and it takes you right to that station. You can think of that as styles. I know I'm showing my age here. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and complete the steps. All right, we are going to modify the normal style, and we do that by right-clicking on the normal style button. Again, in the Home tab Styles group, bring down the drop-down menu, right-click on normal, and we're going to choose modify. Now, unfortunately, I can't Alt-tab back to the instructions, so we're going to use the same technique you saw in the last walkthrough video. I'm going to hover my mouse over the word icon in the taskbar and then hover over the instructions window. 2A, change the normal style font to Times New Roman. So in the formatting category, we're going to change the font to Times New Roman. Now, if you don't see it right away, you could also type it in like this. And now it's Times New Roman. 2B, change the normal style font size to 12 point. Easy enough. And then we get to 2C, change the normal style line spacing to double with no blank space after paragraphs. Now, looking at this, how do we change things related to paragraphs? Well, if you go to the bottom left here of the Modify Style dialog box, you have this format button drop down thing. Microsoft, unfortunately, doesn't even follow its own guidelines. So we're just going to call this the format button drop down. And you'll choose paragraph. This brings up the paragraph dialog box. Now, keep in mind, this paragraph dialog box is specific to the normal style. And the reason why I say this is because it looks exactly like the paragraph dialog box you would find if you were to bring up the paragraph dialog box launcher in the Home tab paragraph group. If you look in the indents and spacing tab, go down to the spacing category. We want to make sure that there's no spacing before or after, so we need to change after to 0 point. And then line spacing, we're going to set this to double. Click OK. And click OK. And that takes care of step 2. All right, how are we doing? Remember, if you need a break, you always have the pause button. All right, moving right along to step 3. Apply the modified normal style to the first 4 paragraphs in the document from Friday to 28 September 2027. So what are they talking about here? You can see these first 4 lines. Remember, these are paragraphs here. Using the selection techniques I showed you in the last walkthrough video for Word 1 project, we're going to go ahead and select our 4 lines, our 4 paragraphs. according to Word. So starting with Faria Noor and ending with 28 September 2027. In the Home tab styles group, bring down the styles drop down, and you can see normal here. And as before, we have live previews. Okay, so we'll go ahead and choose normal, and that takes care of step 3. Step 4, center the tile paragraph, current business trends, growth in entrepreneurship. So again, using my selection techniques, I'm going to select current business trends, growth in entrepreneurship, and in the Home tab paragraph group, we're going to click center. Of course, you can use Control E, as you can see there in the tooltip. Now, at this point, I need to make sure to save. If you want to save to your OneDrive, make sure you turn on autosave. All right, step 5. Insert a header as follows. And we need to read the instructions carefully here. Part A, insert a blank header at the top of the page. Now, there's actually a header called blank. Okay, a lot of times folks make this mistake. They double click into the header thinking, well, yeah, this is a blank header, but it's not the same thing. I'll go ahead and close header and footer. This is what you need to do. Go to the Insert tab, and in the header and footer group, you'll see the header drop down, and there's actually a header called blank, and that's the one you want to select here. And now you'll see this field, type here. You're in the header and footer tab. Let's go ahead and continue. 5B, right align the header paragraph. Now to do this, we need to go back to the Home tab paragraph group and choose Align Right. And then we'll switch back to the header and footer tab. Part C, enter Noor as the header text, insert a space, and then insert a plain number, page number from the current position gallery. Okay, let's go one at a time here. Enter Noor as the header text. So where it says type here, we will type in Noor, and then we'll enter a space, and then insert a plain number, page number from the current position gallery. They're giving you a hint here. Okay, let's take a look. In the header and footer tab, go to the header and footer group under page number. Notice current position, right? Current position, and you want to choose plain number. All right, there you go. Plain number. Ignore the Mac hint, and because you shouldn't be using a Mac for this project anyway. Part D, close the header and footer tools. And 2 ways to do this. You can click on the close header and footer button, or you can double click on the main body, and that takes you back to the main body of your document. If you want to go back into the header, no problem. Double click into the header area, and then I'll go ahead and move back to the body. All right, how are we doing? And let's go ahead and move on to the next step. All right, step 6. Create a first line indent of 1/2 inch for the body paragraphs, beginning with in the early 2020s and ending with for financial independence. So I'm going to use my selection technique by going to the left of the margin in what's called the selection area here. This is where you'll see your pointer inverted. And we're going to start with in the early 2020s, and we're going to scroll all the way down, and we'll stop before works cited. Okay, you can see the last sentence there and the potential for financial independence. Don't include works cited. And we need to create a first line indent of 1/2 inch. We do that by going to the Home tab paragraph group, and we're going to click on the dialog box launcher called Paragraph Settings. This is the same dialog box you saw earlier when we modified the normal style. So be careful, because it's definitely confusing if you're working with this for the first time. In the indentation category, under the special drop-down menu, we're going to change it from none to first line, and you'll see it's set to 1/2 inch by default, or 0.5 inches. Go ahead and click OK, and I'm going to use Control Home to go back to the top of my document here. And if you want to convince yourself, you can see that with every paragraph, your first line is indented to a half an inch. By the way, Control Home takes you to the beginning of the document. Control N takes you to the end. All right, moving right along to step 7. Respond to the comment from your professor, Miranda Estrada, on page 1 as follows. Part A, read the comment and then delete it. So if we scroll on down, you'll see a comment from Miranda Estrada. And to delete the comment, you'll see this 3-dot menu called More Thread Actions. We'll go ahead and click on that and then choose Delete Thread. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and save because 7B is a little bit more involved. And if you need a break, now would be a good time for that. And we'll be right back. See you on the other side. All right, how are we doing? Now, I put in a pause there because I need to set things up for 7B. Because in 7A, you responded to your professor, but 7B is something entirely different. So let's go ahead and take a look here. In 7B, before the period in the sentence, according to business research and cybersecurity, insert a citation to a new source using the information shown in table 1. Now, if I Alt-Tab, this is the sentence in question here. And I need to place my insertion point before the period after the word cybersecurity. Now, in a perfect world, you would have all of your sources together, and using the built-in tools with Word, you would use the source manager to add all of your sources so that you can just use the drop-down menu when it comes time to cite a source. Unfortunately, in the real world, you're in the middle of your term paper and you come across something that you would like to add as a citation. Well, you're going to learn how to do that in this step. All right, 7B, here we go. To add a new citation, let's go to the References tab, Citations and Bibliography group, insert citation. Here are the existing sources. Again, this is in a perfect world, but we need to add a new source. So we'll choose Add New Source. This brings up the Create Source dialog box. Now, unfortunately, you cannot Alt-Tab, which is why I had that pause a moment ago so that we can preview and see exactly what to type in here. Type of source, article in a periodical. So type of source, and it's already set to article in a periodical. Say that fast 5 times. And let's go ahead and start plugging in the information here. So the author is going to be Sato Yua, Sato, comma, space, Yua, and then title, Top Startup Industries. Top Startup Industries. Now, I'm going to pause again in the interest of time, and I will show you what this looks like with all the fields filled out. But one thing I want to point out here, the tag name. Ignore the tag name. It's going to be unique and Word understands what's going on. So what I'm going to do is pause this video and you're just basically plugging and chugging from the table, and I'll show you what this looks like. All right, so here's what it looks like. So this is what you should have. Again, you're just plugging in directly from the table. When you're set, go ahead and click OK. Make sure you type out everything correctly. If you make a mistake, click on Manage Sources and then go to the citation you just entered in, click Edit, and then make your corrections. So I just wanted to show you that. This is the source manager, by the way. And at this point, we are now done with step 7. How are we doing, folks? Again, if you need a break, you always have that pause button. All right, continuing on. Step 8, insert a citation to the existing Pew Research Center source before the period at the end of the sentence. Global fintech income has nearly doubled in the last 10 years, which is the last sentence in the fifth body paragraph. And I need to make sure I'm alt tabbing to the right place here. Here we go. All right. Scrolling on down. And there it is. Again, we're looking for global fintech income has nearly doubled in the last 10 years. Again, we need to put the insertion point before the period after years, and they're asking us to insert a citation to the existing Pew Research Center source. So let's go into References tab, Citations and Bibliography group, click on Insert Citation. There's Pew Research Center. And by the way, just to show you, here's the citation you added earlier. All right, Pew Research Center, boom, there you go. Moving right along, step 9, in the same sentence, use the thesaurus to replace the word income with a more accurate synonym that starts with the letter R. So we're going to double click on income and right click. You'll see synonyms, and there's only one word that starts with R, and that's revenue. And by the way, if you're not convinced, remember there's a final figure at the end. Step 10, in the second body paragraph, considering the number blah, blah, blah each year Rodriguez. Okay, so again, it's in the second body paragraph. And here it is right here. Okay, I'm going to put my insertion point there. This is what you're looking for. Edit the source of the Rodriguez citation to use 2027 as the year access. Now, how do we fix this? Well, you'll see how Rodriguez highlights when I mouse over it. If you click on Rodriguez, you get this little drop down. And from there, we can choose Edit Source. And you'll see that the year accessed is missing, and they're asking us to input 2027. And then we'll go ahead and click OK. And then just to double check again, yes, 2027 as the year accessed. I'll go ahead and save. Step 11, in the next paragraph, before the period at the end of the sentence, remote work also blah, blah, blah are financially stable. So let's look for that. Here it is. Okay, again, insertion point before the period. They're asking us to insert a citation to a new source using the information shown in Table 2. So let me set this up. And once again, we're going to create a new source, and we're basically plugging and chugging here. So let me show you. References tab, Citations and Bibliography, insert citation, add new source. Type of source is going to be website. So we're going to choose website from the list. There's website. And continuing on, again, remember we have to hover over the instructions preview. Author is Ready J. Double check your typing as you're doing this. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video to give you time to fill out the fields, and I'll come back and show you what you should have. All right, how are we doing, folks? So this is what you should have. And just to remind you again, I'm not an English professor, so if you have questions about proper MLA formatting, reach out to your instructor. We're just doing this for the sake of this project. And again, I'm not an MLA expert here. I'm just showing you how to use the tools. So there's my disclaimer. Double check what you typed and then go ahead and click OK. And at this point, we are ready to move on to step 12. Edit the Chang citation in the next paragraph, 40%, blah, 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 product or service, to add 18 as the page number. So let's find the Chang citation here. Here's the Chang citation. Click on it. Here's the drop down. Choose Edit Citation. Let's add that page number. Should be 18. Let's double check. Yes, add 18 as the page number, as you see in step 12. Go ahead, click OK, click off the citation. Let's make sure we're saving, and we'll continue on to step 13. To provide additional information in the 5th paragraph, FinTech startups, 10 years, Pew Research Center, move the insertion point immediately after the period. Okay, pay attention to this part. Immediately after the period in the first sentence, FinTech startups financial field, and insert a footnote with the following text. Okay, so let's back up a little bit here. FinTech startups financial field. And that is in the 5th paragraph in the financial field. So this time we need to put the insertion point after the period. And the reason for this is we're going to create a footnote. Now, for readability purposes, we don't want to have a bunch of text in parentheses, because we need to explain something about this first sentence here. If you have a lot of text that you need to explain something, again, it's going to disrupt readability. We use footnotes so that the reader can choose to look at the bottom of the page for more information. After all, you can think of footnote, footer, same idea. Now, if the footnote appears at the bottom of the page, where do you think endnote is going to appear? And if you were thinking at the end of the document, you are absolutely correct. So we're going to go ahead and insert a footnote. In the References tab, Footnotes group, we'll click Insert Footnote. And you'll see that your insertion point has moved to the bottom of the page here. We're going to type, FinTech is short for financial technology. And this is a sentence, so be sure to include the period. FinTech is short for financial technology. Let me double check my typing here. And it's very important that you do double check your typing, because if you forget the period at the end of the sentence, you will be marked wrong by the grading engine. So be careful. FinTech is short for financial technology. So again, if we go back into the paragraph here, you'll see FinTech startups cover a wide range of businesses in the financial field, superscript 1. And the reader can choose to look at the explanation at the bottom of the page. Imagine if you had this, FinTech startups cover a wide range of businesses in the financial field, and in parentheses, FinTech is short for financial technology. That doesn't flow very well. So this is why we use footnotes. Additionally, Word automatically numbers the footnotes. So if for some reason you wanted to include a footnote further up, that superscript 1 is going to change to a 2, while the newer one up here becomes number 1, and so forth. So Word takes the pain out of having to organize your footnotes. So I hope that this makes sense. And if you need a break, now would be a good time. All right, we are not done with the footnote just yet here. Step 14, modify the footnote text style by changing its font size to 12 point, the line spacing to double, and the indentation to a 0.5 inch first line indent. This is a tricky one, folks, and hopefully you have been looking at your SAM training for Word Module 2. Let me explain. If you're down here in your footnote and you try to go to the Home tab to make all of those corrections, right? Changing Let's see this again, what they're asking for. Changing the font size, the line spacing, and the indentation. If you're going to the Home tab to do this, that is not correct. Okay, check this out. If you right-click directly on your footnote, you should see Style. Okay, this brings up the Style dialog box. Notice footnote text, and from there, you're going to click on the Modify button. This brings up the Modify Style dialog box, and keep in mind, this is specifically for the footnote. So let's take a look at what we need to change here one more time. And as I mentioned in the past, it wouldn't hurt to print out the instructions so that you have them in front of you. Let's change the font size to 12 points under formatting. Okay, easy enough. And then we're going to click on that format button, drop down, and we'll choose paragraph. This is the paragraph dialog box, but remember, this is for the footnote style. Okay, remember that. And from here, we need to change the line spacing to double and the indentation to a 0.5 inch first line indent. So let's take care of indentation first. In the indentation category, special, we'll change this to first line. It's 0.5 inches by default. And then in the spacing category, change line spacing to double. Click OK, and click Apply. So if you need to, pause this video. You can go back and rewind because this is a tricky step. And in the past, COSA 50 students have fallen for this. Okay, so make sure you get it right the first time. All right, step 15, onward. In the main body of the document, find all instances of the text online. That is on dash line, and replace it with online to use the more common style. Hint, you should make 2 replacements, and there's a reason why they're giving you this hint. So we're still here in the footnote. Let's go ahead and search for online. And to do that, we go to the Home tab, Editing Group. Here's Find in the drop-down. You can also hit Control F on your keyboard. That brings up the navigation pane. Let's look for online, right? But in this case, we actually want to replace, okay? So I showed you what it looks like to find, but in this case, if you look at the instructions, they are actually asking us to replace. So how do you do that? Well, if we go back to Home tab, Editing Group, there's Replace or Control H. Okay, this is the Find and Replace dialog box. Of course, you can go back and find online. So you can see there's more than one way to do this, but Replace is in Find and Replace or Control H. So find what? Online, replace with online, and we'll go ahead and replace all. All done, we made 0 replacements. Wait a minute. The instructions gave us a hint and said that you should make 2 replacements. Something's not right here. You know what? Let's try this. Let me move the insertion point out of the footnote. Let's give that a try. Okay, so again, Control H, online with online, replace all. Oh, hey, there you go. All done. We made 2 replacements. So don't fall for what I just showed you. As soon as you're done with step 14, move your insertion point out of the footnote. Otherwise, you're going to be doing find and replace directly in your footnote instead of the main body of your paper. Okay, so be careful with that. All right, how are we doing, folks? So again, I'm showing you this so you don't fall for those tricks. All right, step 16. On page 2, read the remaining comment from Miranda Estrada and then reply to it with the following text, "Thank you," with a period. All right, whoops, let's make sure we're alt-tabbing to the right place here. Okay, that's more like it. So here's the comment, good point. I'm going to click into the reply box and type thank you with a period, and then we'll click on this paper airplane, and there you go. Moving right along to step 17, modify the works cited paragraph as follows to match the MLA style. So let's look for works cited. It's at the end. I will use my selection technique to select the works cited paragraph. Part A, move the insertion point to the beginning of the works cited paragraph and then insert a manual page break. Now, Word wraps your text automatically as you type, and this is why you'll find typewriters in museums behind glass cases, because with word processing programs, you can just keep right on typing and Word will automatically break the page for you. Now, there are some times where you don't want the page to automatically break. Let's say you have a new paragraph towards the bottom of the page and your first sentence begins at the bottom and the rest of your paragraph, well, that ends up on the next page. Or let's say that you have a paragraph, you're on your last sentence, and unfortunately, the last sentence ends up on the next page. It affects the readability. So what we can do is manually break the page, or in this instance, with works cited, it needs to be on its own separate page. So how do we break the page? There's a few ways to do this. Let me show you here. If you go to the Insert tab, Pages group, you'll see Page Break. You'll also see the keyboard shortcut Control Return or Control Enter. We can use Control Enter. Alternatively, you can go into the Layout tab, Page Setup group, Breaks, Page Breaks, and then choose Page. You could do that too. I'm going to go ahead and use Control Enter just to show you. And there you go. Works cited is now on its own page. Part B, center the works cited paragraph on the new page. So we'll go ahead, select this paragraph, and you know what? I'll just use Control E. If you go to the Home tab paragraph group, you'll see center. That keyboard shortcut is Control E. Step 18, move the insertion point to the left aligned blank paragraph at the end of the document, and then use the insert bibliography command to insert a list of sources without a built-in heading. Now, this is another tricky one. Let me show you here. So here's that blank paragraph. If we want to generate a bibliography, we could do that by going to the References tab, Citations and Bibliography group, and then we'll choose the Bibliography drop-down menu. But which one are we choosing here? You can see under built-in, we have Bibliography, References, Works Cited. Let's choose Bibliography. Now, don't do anything yet, just watch. If you thought that this was the correct method, unfortunately, this is not correct. Okay, so let's go ahead and undo this. And let's read the instructions again carefully here. Insert a list of sources without a built-in heading. So what they're asking you to do here is to choose Insert Bibliography, as you can see here. So you're not using any of the built-in presets. We're just going with Insert Bibliography, and you'll see how the formatting already matches MLA here. Okay, so be careful with this step here. Step 19, in the bibliography, the day is missing from the Patel source. Find the Patel source in the body of the document and edit it to provide 3 as the day. So as we're looking through the bibliography here, we notice that the Patel source is missing something. So we need to go into the Source Manager, References tab, Citations and Bibliography group, click Manage Sources. Here's the Source Manager. Let's click on Patel to the right, and we'll choose Edit. And then there's the missing day. We'll type in 3. Let me double check real quick. Actually, let me cancel. And let me double check real quick here. Let's make sure it's 3. Yep, 3 as the day. No problem. We'll click on edit. And then for the day, it's 3. Click OK. And then click close. Now, before I click close, you just saw the bibliography entry update. But what I also want to show you here is that you have a master list to the left and the current list to the right. The current list relates to the document that's open, that's your project. But over time, as you start adding sources, you're going to have this master list on the left here. And let's say that you're writing a couple of term papers and they're all related to each other. You can use that master list and then copy over the sources as needed. Okay, this is working smart. Again, if you find yourself writing term papers all related to the same subject matter. Okay, so I hope that you find this useful. All right, so I'll go ahead and click close, but you'll notice that the Patel entry has not updated. Well, let's keep going here. Step 20, update the bibliography field so that the works cited list reflects the edit you made to the Patel source. All right, so what we need to do here is right-click somewhere in the bibliography list and we'll choose update field. And boom, there you go. There's that update with Patel. All right, we're at the home stretch here. Step 21, check the spelling and grammar in the document to identify and correct any spelling errors. Hint, ignore names. So first, we're going to control home and go back to the beginning. And to check spelling, it's the review tab proofing group. Now, if you choose spelling and grammar, this really just opens up the Microsoft editor. Now, at the time of this recording, this is what the Microsoft editor looks like. And if you're watching from the future, things can and do change when it comes to Word and Microsoft 365. We're only interested in the spelling and grammar corrections. Remember, they told us to ignore names. Let's check spelling first, and you'll see that entrepreneurs is misspelled. Let's go ahead and click on the correct spelling of entrepreneurs in the editor pane. And you'll see the check mark next to spelling under corrections. And now let's take a look at grammar. And you know what? Let's pause for a moment here and let's look ahead to the final figure. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is so that we're not inadvertently changing something and as a result, we're losing points. So remember, you do have a final figure here. Let me go back and check what's going on here. Considering the number of new business applications, so let's look for this paragraph here. Considering the number of new business applications since 2021 have continued. So when it comes to the editor, we're just doing spelling corrections, okay? We're going to leave this alone. And again, compare with the final figure so that you don't end up losing points over this. So with that, let's go ahead and save our project. And we'll take one last look here at the instructions. Your document should look like the final figure on the following pages. Save your changes, close the document, and then exit Word. Follow the directions on the website to submit your completed project. So again, you do have a final figure. Make sure you go through, take a look that you're not missing something. And with that, let's go ahead and save our project. If you have autosave turned on, you need to close completely out of Word for your changes to sync. Of course, if you are using OneDrive, you need to be connected to the internet. All right, at this point, we are ready to submit our project for grading. Are you still there? Yes, I am. And let's go ahead and turn this project in. You know what? I will try out the drag and drop this time. So let me do this. All right, here we go. Drag and drop. We'll click submit. And let's grab our graded summary report. Check our downloads. And we'll go ahead and launch this report. Hopefully I didn't miss something, especially with the Microsoft editor. And here you go, 100 out of 100. As before, if you did not get 100, use this report as a guide. go back, open up your project file, make the corrections, resubmit, and then download your new report. And if you earn 100, then you're good to go. So that is it for Word 2 project. Good luck, and I hope that you find these built-in tools useful the next time you have to write a term paper. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.